The Christian church is an absolute zoo. It's basically one big ball of hypocrisy. And I want to discuss this and discuss why I left the Christian church. I mentioned some brief examples in other videos and bits and pieces, but I just wanted to discuss the church. I believe the church is actually an abomination to God. The church is for entertainment purposes. It has nothing to do with God. It is, go, show out, put on your new shirt, start dancing around, doing a little two-step. Some people speak in tongues, I was there, and it just seemed like a total circus to me. It just didn't. Something was not resonating with me. It didn't seem right. I didn't feel right there. I got bad vibes from the place. I just felt like God was telling me to get the hell out of there. That's literally how I felt. Something just felt so off in my spirit that just said, this place is a circus. Get out of this building. Get out of this place. This place has nothing to do with me. Like, I almost felt like he was telling me to get out of there. He gave me a lot of signs. So I left and I never went back. So my point is, I am not against God or Christians or anything like that. I am speaking particularly just about the building itself. Basically what they're doing is these pulpit pimps, which they call pastors, who is really just a pimp who is robbing from the poor. These buildings are in some of the poorest, worst communities economically, and yet they continually ask for money. They're just non-stop asking for money. And the church I was at was in one of the worst cities in America. I mean, a very dangerous place. Very poor people. So how are you going to leech from these people that some of them probably can't pay their electric bill, their water, this and that, but yet you're sucking them dry of money. You're just non-stop. Like, literally every week it was something else. Like, oh, we're having some banquet for the bishop and it's $200 to attend. I'm like, where are we supposed to be getting this money? Most of us are just struggling to make it by. And every other week, not every other week, every week, and they had services 3 times a week. So 3 times a week, it was like every other day. It was like a new thing, like, oh, we need money for this. Oh, we need money for that. Oh, we're having this and this and that. I'm like, this is insanity. This is sickness. This is not of God. Why would God tell poor people to give him all their money? Like, supposedly it's gonna go. Are you gonna mail a check to God up in heaven? Like, where is the money going to? It's going into the building. God didn't say anything about giving your money to a building. He wants you to go out and serve. What does going out and providing service, helping people, serving people have to do with a building? He never instructed anyone to give all their money for the upkeep of a building. He didn't say anything about even going to a building. We can worship God anywhere. So it seemed like every other day they were constantly asking for money. Oh, we gotta paint the building. Literally, they would say that, and then 2 weeks later, oh, we're going to repaint. Well, didn't you just paint 2 weeks ago? Now you need more money. You're going to paint over the coat you just did. Now they're moving to a totally different building, a humongous building. And, I don't go there anymore, but I was watching online, and they were just asking, they're moving to a new building. They were like, oh, it's going to be $50,000 for the electric and this and that. I'm like, who told you to go to a new building? Did God tell you, move into a new giant building because the one you have isn't, the one they have is rather big? It's like, that has nothing to do with God. That has to do with the pastor's ego, himself. That has nothing to do with God. So now, all that money that you asked for paint 200 times, like every other week, now you're leaving that building after you already took years and years and years of money from these people for the upkeep of this building. Now you're saying that building isn't good enough after we just gave you all this money for paint and gave you money for this and gave you money for that and did this and did that. Now you're moving into a new building which is going to be exponentially more expensive because you can fit more bodies in there and you can suck more money out of people. I mean, this is sickness. Has nothing to do with God. It's not of God. It has to do with man's ego. It has nothing to do with God. So then one week they asked, they were saying like they needed money for some $500 light bulb for the screen. They had these two big screens on the left and the right to, where they would show, their videos and stuff. So they said like, oh, one of the lights went out. It's like $500. And then literally in the same service, they showed a video of the bishop and his wife on a trip to Africa. And they were like zip lining and doing all this fun stuff. And I'm thinking like, didn't you just ask us for money because you couldn't afford a $500 light bulb for one of the projectors or the screen or something? But yet the bishop and his wife took a trip to Africa, which must have cost thousands of dollars. It's not cheap to go to Africa. And yet all of us are struggling to pay our bills, but yet we have to give you all our money. Why didn't you take the money that you used to go to Africa and buy the new light bulb and not ask anyone for money? How about that? I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. You can't even make this stuff up. Like, oh, we need $500 for a light bulb. A half hour later, they're showing a video of them having the time of their lives, like zip lining in Africa. I'm like, wow, I wish I could go zip lining in Africa. So I'm just trying to point out the total hypocrisy of these people. It's a complete and utter joke how they take advantage of people. They're no different than any other con artist or swindlers. Frankly, they should be completely ashamed of themselves, stealing from the poor and using the name of a Yeshua to do so, because God would be just totally flabbergasted and disgusted. This is not pleasing to God, stealing money from the poor. You think he's pleased with that? I don't think so. And then go and dance around like a big circus, it's total insanity. It's for entertainment. It's like going to the Grammys, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let's go, let's dance around, let's sing, and let's give this family all our money. Like, what, did God tell you to do that? No, he didn't tell you to give some random family all your money. No, he didn't do that. So It was just total hypocrisy. Oh, and then the bishop and his wife, they, after taking money from these people for years and years and years and years, they all of a sudden, out of nowhere, said they were moving to Florida, and then they asked the members of the church to pay for their relocation fees. Like, they're like, oh, they asked for, like, I think for each person to donate $200. So I'm like, wait a second here. Whoa, hold up, wait a minute. You are leaving town. You're like, I mean, like, literally moving for good, like, as in not coming back, and they left a younger pastor. They, like, kind of like almost handed down the church to a younger pastor to take care of it. But they do have they have like a bigger, almost like a head church in Florida. And then where we are, they have kind of like a lower tier, like they're connected. They're like interconnected kind of thing. So they went and they're like, oh, he's going to work down there under some other bishop, and they're going to now like work under that guy or something like that. I don't know. They left town. They left the church to someone else, and basically they were asking everyone in the church to donate $200 for them to leave. I'm like, why? Now you're asking for people to pay for your relocation fees? Did God instruct people to pay for people's lifestyle now too? Like, we have to pay for you to relocate and go down south for your retirement. Like, what does that have to do with God? Why are we responsible for your moving fees? Like, does any of this make any sense to anyone? Talk about red flags on top of red flags. And then one time I said something about volunteering and getting involved in some of the ministries, and the bishop said to me something about like, oh yeah, you can go and work over there on that $20,000 camera. And I'm just like, huh? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, what? I had been sick and dealing with major illnesses and problems with my health. And he's talking about a $20,000 camera. Like, I care about, why do I care about the cost of that camera? Like, what does that have to do with anything? I said something about volunteering to serve. So why did you point out the price of the camera? You know what I mean? Like, it just, none of it made any sense. It was just a total chaotic lunacy. And I was just like, I'm just out of here. It's just, the place is a zoo. Like, I would not suggest going in any of these zoos. All they do is suck poor people dry of their money. That's what they do. They're pimps. They're not any different than a pimp, okay? They're stealing people's money to go to a building, which God did not instruct anyone to pay for anyone else's building. He never did.